Hey, welcome again to another live demo. This is Gary Block. I am going to demo the community tool RuckZuck. And interesting name. I don't have the history on that, but I'll have to ask the creator where he got that name. But tonight I was setting it up and I thought I would demo some of the things that it can do here. It actually should be a pretty quick demo because it's very simple. So all I've done so far is gone ahead and installed it, the download from their website. And let's see if I can pull that up quick. So it's just RuckZuck.tools. I went ahead and I downloaded this RZ for ConfigMgr. And then I ran the installer, which literally took just a couple seconds. And then it popped up a config file, which I will show you here. So once it's installed, all you have to do is go through a config file and set it up for your environment. And in here, I've left it fairly basic. So I installed it. This is my lab, and this is actually my primary server, the CM server, and so this is where the console is. So if you're running it from like your like a jump server or your workstation, you would have to like put these actual properties in. But since I'm running it on the server with the database, I just left this with localhost. I updated the database to the correct name, which is cm_ps2, which is my site code. And then my distribution point group is named lab. So I updated that. The default AD group, so one of the things this tool does is when you have the option of having it create collections for the software and then create deployments, which works great in the lab. So what I've done here is I already had an AD group that I set up specifically for this before called Software Center Deploy Apps. So I went ahead and put that in here so that when it creates the application deployments, it will automatically deploy it to this user group. And then I left all these settings down here. I changed this from true to false. The very first test I ran, when I tried to install the software, it came back with the error saying that it did not meet requirements. So I went and looked at the requirements, and it had that machine required, or the user was requiring to be the primary user. I'm like, well, in a lab, a lot of times I just build a machine and I have no primary user yet. So I went and set that to false. Not sure of a situation where I'd actually need that to be true. Down here, the CM server, since this is the local machine, I left this with localhost. I did create in my source server a folder called RuckZuck, and so that all the content that it downloads, it will go and build it here, and I'll show that to you in a little bit. And rest of these, I just left the defaults, but you would want to go through these and verify them for your own environment. All right, so let's head over to the console here, and I will show you. So I've already actually created several applications as I was just testing it out. But so you have to go into the application. We're going to go ahead and click on this. After you install it, it creates this little icon up here. And then when you click on that, it will launch this here little UI. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new software. Let's see here. I am going to create one that I spotted earlier, but I haven't tried yet. So, I mean, I'll show you something here in a second, but here we go. This is a tool that I use quite a bit at work to figure out or to assist in my troubleshooting of computers. So I'm going to go ahead and then, well, now that I've highlighted that, I'm going to click Download Files and create CM App. And that will spawn off this little box. And right now it's it created the app. It's downloading, updating, signing content. I mean, it goes fast, and it's already done. So let's go ahead and close this out. But before I close this out, let me just show you here. I mean, look at this here. Under the audio category, there's 28 items. I mean, this thing is just loaded with already pre-created applications. Now, when I just quick peruse through here, I don't believe everything is the most recent version, and I haven't read up enough to know how you'd update those. But there is a lot of applications in here, and a lot of stuff is current. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to go over here to this RuckZuck folder, and let's see. I created the client center just a minute ago. All right. So it creates it with the name and appends a version and this RuckZuck number here. And you can see it's already been distributed to my distribution point because of that setting I put in there. And being a lab, it doesn't take long to distribute. Let's go ahead and look through what it actually created here. So it populates the name, populates the version, populates the manufacturer. And this here is actually another tool by the same maker, which is pretty neat. The only thing I wish, and I looked through the settings, is I wish that there was a thing that automatically checked this, but you could easily script this too. You could just have a PowerShell script run once a week or daily, however often, it wouldn't take long. That just rip through all your applications and check that. Over here in the Software Center tab, it puts a name in here, some categories for you, a nice little description, and a nice icon. Like, it's all done. They thought of it all here. Deployment types, they've got one deployment type. And so you can see the content went to that pre-created folder that I had in the config file. And then it creates this folder and populates it. And I'll head over there so you can actually see that. All right, so here's the RuckZuck. Here are the other applications that I've used RuckZuck to create. And then in here, it has the installer that it downloaded, and it creates an install and uninstall PowerShell. Let's take a look. And now this is pretty simple. It's setting the location as to where the script is running, and then calls basic arguments. And I've looked at a few of them, and they have all the comments or all the arguments to make them silent installs. And then if you wanted to customize things, you could easily go in and customize that as well. All right. And then let's see here. Detection method is they are using a PowerShell script for that, where then they are testing for the existence of that. All right. And then it goes through and it's already set it up for a system, whether or not. So a lot of the things that you would typically set up when you're creating apps, this is already done for you. And then it also creates requirements. So before I set the primary user to false, there was one more in here that had that requirement. So now that I set it to false, it doesn't add that. But there was still this requirement that it creates, so it basically checks some of the boxes here to make sure that you're installing it on 64-bit machines, because that is all that the deployment type supports, because this is the x64 version. So that's not actually allowing you to install it on a 32-bit system. Okay, and then the deployments, you can see that it went to the collection that it created and it deployed as available. So let's go take a look at the collections that it created. So you will, by default, create user collections, and then you can rename this folder in the config file, and I just left it the defaults for now. And here are the different collections that is created, and you can actually specify the different prefixes as well and have that set up. And then let's go ahead and look at one. So it has gone ahead, and that group that I specified in config file has added it as a direct member Okay, so now let's go ahead and cut over to a test machine here. All right, let's take a look here. All right, so let's go and head back. Now, last time I tested, before I started this demo, oh, look, it's already there. Let's go ahead and cross our fingers here and see if this installs. I had tested the VLC earlier and that worked, so I'm pretty sure this will also work. Installing. It's looking good. But you can see there it's got the nice icon. It looks, so I just created these 5 tonight in here, just doing the exact same process I showed you. And you can see it's got the icons all pre-created and it looks quite nice. And now let's go ahead and check it out. And here it is, Client Center Configuration Manager. It's recently added. And boom, there it is. All right, let's see. We've got no one asking any questions. Now I switched over to that quick, so that makes life easy for me. All right, I think that's it for now. Very simple to set up, very convenient, and a great way to add a lot of applications into your environment very quickly. So thanks for joining, and I'll catch you for the next demo.